Thank you, John Bosco. Good afternoon to all CPS. I hope you are able to hear me.
We are hearing you.
Yeah, my video doesn't look very clear, but it's okay. Good afternoon, and we thank all of you for dialing in. We already have this really nice. We were giving some time for people to dial in, but we are now good to start. CPA Sarah Chelangat from Ernst & Young. I work with the tax department. I'm an associate director, and happy to have all of you on board. Today we are discussing about mental health in the COVID-19 period, and it is really an issue that has come up everywhere in social media, and you will note that mental health, as the presenters will discuss, is as important as healthy mind, a healthy body, our mental health. We shall start with the CPA Amos Bagumire. Amos is the Managing Director of ABS Consulting Group Limited, a company which is now 8 years old. It deals in governance, risk, human resource, forensic audit, and executive development. Before joining the company, Amos was an associate director with the EY, the Ernst & Young work within the East African region, specifically Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Amos has over 20 years experience in governance, audit, risk, and advisory. You will note that it is interesting that Amos is a CPA, but he's really gone too much into HR-related issues, training, which is really a good support to the profession. Before joining EY, Amos worked with the European Union and also with the KPMG and Fountain Publishers. So he has trained several board members through executive development programs in the areas of evaluating board performance for various institutions and develop for various institutions and delivered presentations in different workshops, including human resource practitioner from the University of Liverpool of ICPAU. He officially affiliated Saracen and is part of the Ernst & Young Strategy Implementation Committee. This is a very rich CV, and thank you very much, Amos, for accepting our invite to come and present in this forum. Let me not take a lot of time. We are going to give Amos 30 minutes of presentation. Then after, the second presenter will also come, Dr. Basangwa. He is already in the panelist team. So over to you, Amos, and thank you very much. I wish everyone good listening.
Thank you so much, Madam Sarah, the moderator. And thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, members, for joining this important discussion. Madam Moderator, I'm assuming that my voice is clear and everybody can hear me. John, is everybody able to hear me?
Amos, you are very clear. We are able to hear you properly.
Yeah, so thank you also the Institute for inviting me to take part in this important discussion. As the moderator introduced me, I'm an accountant by profession, but along the way, I picked interest in other areas, including human resources. So I'm coming in here to discuss as a human resource expert, but also as somebody who has been providing counseling services to people who experience stress in one way or the other. So I'm bringing that vast experience as an HR practitioner, not necessarily as an accountant. COVID-19 has taken everybody unaware. It has been unfortunate, and we have been affected in one way or the other. And to others, it has even affected our mental health, as the presentation is going to elaborate on how we are affected. But even before COVID-19, we have been having stress-related issues. But these normal stress-related issues coupled with COVID-19 related issues, they have affected our health in so many aspects. And the areas where we are affected include, of course, what the whole world is talking about. Most of it is positive, but there are aspects of negative world news talking about COVID without really caring about the people, the society, mixed information which is negative in the environment that we live in. The environment is big. It could be your neighbor, it could be your children, it could be friends and the rest. Not everybody comes up with positive information. Some of it is negative, and it affects us in one or the other. Negative behaviors that we see within the community that we live in. Not everybody is behaving the way they are supposed to behave. Others have exaggerated, others have distorted the information. Others don't want to relate with us. So these behaviors also affect us in one way or the other. We have seen also situations of where people are affected, and these are the realities. Also, these ones affect us in one or the other. There is that fear, constant fear, whether you are next. We have seen situations where our routines have changed. We don't do the things the way we normally used to do them. Now it is a different routine, which we are not used to. And in most cases, whenever there is change comes with challenges. We take long to cope with change. All these things have affected us. But also on top of that, there is endless uncertainty that we see. We don't know what is next. So many things have come up. People are talking about the cure. People are talking about the vaccination. We don't know when it is coming. There is a lot of uncertainty. Our businesses have been affected. Our incomes are affected. Our families are affected. And the uncertainty is just endless. So these things have affected us in one way or the other. But the most of it is issues to do with the fear of getting the virus. We all fear. That is real. We've seen people falling sick. We've seen people dying across the globe. It is a global pandemic. So this fear lives with us, and it is affecting us so much. And if we are not managing it well, it could as well bring health-related problems. Of course, life is not normal. It is, we are living in an abnormal way. We are isolating through social distance. The message, although brought in a positive manner, it affects us in one or the other. So the slogans that we are hearing, like keep a distance, don't sembere, and the rest, in a way it is interpreted differently by different people. So others are able to manage it well, but there are some people affected. Our children are affected. You come, you enter the home, you know, the normal where your children would rush to come and greet you and hug you, they will come you with sanitizers. In the process, even they forget to greet you. You know, all these things are affecting us in one way or the other, as we are going to see. So if we don't manage this so well, we are going to develop health-related problems. We've lost our normal routine. People who used to wake up, do exercises around the neighborhood, we cannot do this anymore. People who used to go to the bars and meet friends, socialize and enjoy either on a cup of tea or a bottle of beer, we are not able to do this. All these things used to manage us in a controlling stress which is brought about by so many aspects. So we have lost this routine, and in one way or the other, it is affecting our mental state. We are getting a lot of confusing information. One day we are told we should all put on the masks. The other day you find so many write-ups on how the masks affect our breathing mechanism, how they are not healthy. We don't know what to do anymore. These things are affecting us seriously. We are losing the self-care activities. You know, in some situations, people even cannot access the medical facilities. The situation was worse before, now it has been eased. But there are so many other activities that we used to do that we are not able to do anymore. We are experiencing, you know, so many disruptions. People who have been organizing events, social events, they are not able to do that. People who have been, you know, attending weddings, they are not able to do that anymore. Even the worst case scenario, even when you lose somebody, burials now these days we are limited. You cannot even bury a friend, you cannot bury a relative, you cannot bury a colleague. All these things enter into our minds and they affect us in one way or the other. And this is the reality. I don't want to go deep into the health-related matters, but I want to look at these things in terms of how they bring stress and how we should be able to cope with this stress. Those people who are in employment, the situation has been so worse. And the same applies to those people who are running businesses and who are not able to run businesses the way they are supposed to. In the rated employment circles, we've seen people losing jobs. And this is a reality because most organizations who are not able to run businesses the normal way, the only alternative they have is downsizing. And people are affected. People who have been earning now, they are not able to earn. Those who have been lucky, they have experienced pay cuts. They cannot meet the daily needs they used to meet because salary is no longer enough. And that also creates fear. We've seen, of course, COVID affecting our career advancement. And this is real. Now it is rare to talk about promotions in the situation that we are in. We have seen people working from home, people who are used to work in teams, to work with friends, to work with the support of colleagues. Now you have to be alone at home. Even when you get challenges related to the work, you don't have anybody to refer to. We've seen also increased and or reduced workload. If you are lucky and you was retained and you was not among those people that were sacked, you are doing the work of 3 people where you used to do the work of 1 person. But also others, there is no work at all. So if you are lucky and you have not been terminated, definitely you are underemployed. And you know the situation of underemployment. When you are underemployed, the mind is idle and it is focusing on negative things, which eventually affect our mental state. So these situations which have been brought about by COVID, coupled with the normal challenges that we have been experiencing, more especially at work, things to do with, you know, harassment at the work. It could be physical harassment, it could be sexual harassment, not having good bosses who are rude to you, who are threatening you. At times also the work overload, which has been the normal routine, more especially to the professionals like accountants. You are struggling with meeting deadlines. So all these situations coupled with these ones that I've just mentioned, brought about by COVID, they have worsened the situation. And it is not business as usual. And if you are not careful, your mental state may have been affected. You may not realize it if you don't know how to identify the mental related problems. You may think that things are normal. You may find yourself agitated all the time. You may find yourself quarreling all the time. You may find negative things in your head. You cannot sleep. You cannot eat normally. The appetite has gone. So at times, those who don't know, these are some of the effects that have happened. And in the long-term run, as the doctor is going to tell us, those would have serious effects on our health. Even before COVID, and the doctors would affirm that, even before COVID, stress was #1 killer among all other things. Stress used to be #1 killer, but now we are getting much more stress than before. So which means this is going to affect our lives in one way or the other. It is going to bring health-related problems. So we need to urgently learn and cope. We need to learn how to manage stress. And learning how to manage the stress is a concerted effort. It needs you and me as individuals to first of all manage it by ourselves. It needs our employers to come in and support us, even when we are experiencing problems as an organization. The employer needs to handle the situation in a way that is responsible, in a way that is diplomatic, in a way that is empowering, so that even when people leave employment, they feel empowered and they can start other things which can again compensate for the lost income. We need the community and government on our side as well. So it is a concerted effort. But what I wanted to share with you are the issues to do with me and you as an individual, because it starts with you. At the end of the day, it starts with you. Stress has been there, but we are getting more stress. But what is important is how do we manage this stress? We can only manage this stress by exercising positive thinking. So what I'm going to talk about mainly is positive thinking and the power of our thoughts. So many things enter our head, but how do we manage them? How do we reflect on these issues? And thoughts, for your information, are very powerful. They have a lot of energy, which is real, and they have power. So if we don't know how to control this negative thinking, which enter into our thoughts, and we are saying this is real and they have a lot of power, then we are going to experience a lot of health-related issues, including actually even losing our lives. So we need to take note of the power of thoughts. Our mind is so powerful, and it is the strongest in managing this situation that we are in. So we need to train our brains. We need to train our minds. We need to learn to focus on the positive things. Even when we are experiencing hardships, can we look at the positive aspects of these hardships? Because in most cases, hardships, they sadden our face, but they sharpen our understanding. So can we look into that area where they sharpen our understanding and we focus on that area and we forget about the situation of this sort of this negative saddening our minds? Because in a very difficult situation, there is an opportunity that comes along. In this situation of COVID, so many people are thinking positively. They have identified so many opportunities that can compensate either the lost jobs, the lost income, or all these other issues that we have discussed. So can we identify those opportunities? The Creator is fair to us. He created the universe. But in most cases, when one door closes, another door opens. So can we focus on that door that has just opened for us So it is very, very important to understand that positive thinking is important, and it is the only way that is going to help us manage this difficult situation. For instance, we are talking about COVID-19 and working from home, but we have taken advantage of this situation. We start with the Institute, for instance. Now it is able to run all these webinars, workshops online at no cost to the beneficiaries. And that is the positive aspect of it. But also on the side of the Institute itself, they are not incurring high costs they used to do through hiring hotels and other related facilities. But then at the same time, they are also able to reach many people they used not to reach before. Look at the participants, for instance. There are so many with just the touch of the button, and we are there. That is the positive aspect. So let us learn to look at things in a positive way. And also, let us be conscious of our mind. Our mind, for instance, controls the brain if it is in the conscious state by 5%. You are able to control your body, control your brain when you are in a conscious state, that is the normal state, by only 5%. But the 95% which controls your actions, your behaviors, is when you are in a subconscious mind. And you can imagine. And the subconscious mind is the mind which is focusing on the negatives. You are worried, you are depressed, you are thinking about, diseases, you are thinking about the worst that is to come. So that is the subconscious state. And that subconscious state controls what your mind does and your body by 95%. And that is the bad story. Because now we are in the state which is subconscious. Because all these worries are surrounding us, all these situations, all this uncertainty. So we are not conscious. So if we are not able to manage this situation, this subconscious mind is going to control our actions by 95%. And where are we ending? That is the mental health problems that we are talking about. So it is important to recognize how this is affecting you, is affecting your actions, is affecting your behaviors, so that you look for ways of controlling it. Otherwise, if it goes out of hand, we will find ourselves in the hospitals. So let us focus then on positive thinking. Because positive thinking now, what you need to know and which is good is a matter of choice. So it depends on me and you. Do you want to focus on positive thinking? Do you want to look for good things out of bad things and you focus on those good things? It is a matter of choice. But if you allow your mind to focus on the negative thoughts, and I've told you how powerful these thoughts are, then you are going to end up in undesirable state. You are going to fall sick, and if we're not careful, even we might lose our lives. So a negative thinker always looks at problems in every opportunity. Always looks at problems. And you have had so many people saying, me, I cannot manage this. Me and my family, we are going to die. Let the government come in and help us. We don't know what to do because you have just lost a job. Can't you sit, reflect, and look for the alternative? Can't you look at the opportunity in every difficult situation? And that is what positive thinking is all about. In this country, we are blessed, we have everything. The weather is favoring us. The land we have, more than 80% is arable land. You can make use of it. There are so many opportunities which other countries across the globe don't have. And we have not capitalized on that. It is very unfortunate. So we need to reflect, think, look at those positive aspects that have been brought about by the difficult situation that you are in. And I want to tell you that you are today where your thoughts have brought you. So the situation you are in today is where your thoughts have brought you in. and you will be tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. So it is upon you. Positive thinking is a matter of choice. So if you want allow negativity surround you, if you want to surround yourself with negativity and negative people and negative environment, you are doomed. You don't have a life. So the positive thinker sees the invisible, he feels the intangible, and he achieves the impossible. Because the situation we are in is in an impossible situation, but for a positive thinker, you identify good things out of the difficult situation. So let us focus on positive thinking. Let us surround ourselves with positivity. And the ways of promoting positive thinking is or include positive affirmation. I can survive this situation. I can make it better. I will. I must survive. I must work for my family. So we need to be careful with those affirmations. But also, you can focus on positive aspects. Look for positive quotes. Look for people who have been successful in difficult situations. Share positive stories with other people. Share positive memories. Involve in positive activities. Share good stories. Believe in yourself that you are strong and you can overcome. Because other people have managed to overcome, why can't you overcome? Think positively in all aspects. And continuously watch negative thoughts that come along the way. Remember, watch your thoughts as they become words. Watch your words because they will become your actions. Watch your actions because they will become your habits. Watch your habits because they will become your characters. And once characters step in, they reform or determine your destiny. So it all starts with thoughts. You think about it, before you realize it, you put it in words, you put it in action, it becomes a habit, it becomes a character, and it shapes your destiny. Whether it is shaping your destiny in a good way or a bad way, it depends on you because it is in your hands. So let us focus on positivity, focusing on the positives. Look at things differently, completely differently out of the difficult situation. Believe in yourself. Other people have managed it. Even when you fall sick, you are not going to die. Convince your mind, I'm not going to die because so many other people have not died. I will go there, I will manage it, I will overcome. But if you give the way, definitely you have given up. And it is going to affect you in one way or the other. So the most important aspect I wanted to share with you in managing this difficult situation is focusing on the positives. Even when you have lost somebody, focus on the positive. Look at the way how that person has suffered for so long. And when you focus on the positive, you'll say, okay, at least let him go because he had suffered with this sickness for so long. You are focusing on the positive. But if you are there all the time, you are not helping the situation. And don't focus on the situation you are not able to provide the situation. It is only affecting you because you are not able to provide the answer. It is beyond me and you. Believe in God. So that is why it is important that we focus on the positives in managing the difficult situation. Now, in terms of career and the employment, of course, this has affected so many people's career. In one way or the other, people at home, people have been, requested to leave the organization through downsizing and all those challenges. But those who have been affected and those who are going to be affected, probably look at this also in a positive manner. We have been having a challenge on depending on employment. Probably this is the time to reflect and think about other alternatives, about the potentials you yourself you have that can enable you focus on doing other things. Because there are so many things that we are capable of doing, but we have never gotten time to reflect on them. And this is the time. Reflect on what you are able to do. Is it farming? Is it business? Is it gardening? Is it online trading? Is it, supporting your children in so many aspects like teaching and the rest? So reflect and think about the alternatives that you are able to do. Probably the employment was not the best thing for you. For some of us who left the employment and started, who left being employed and started other things, we realized that we should have done this earlier than before. But we had never gotten time to think about our potentials, think about other things that we can do. If your job has been affected in the area of accounting, think about other possibilities that you can do. You don't need to die an accountant. While I was working, I told you I was an accountant, but along the way, I realized that accounting was not so befitting. I realized that I had potential in other areas, and that is why I changed the profession. I went into HR and other areas, but I discovered this much, much more later. But as an accountant, my behaviors were not matching with the profession. I'm the type who doesn't, like, for instance, spending within the budget. I'm not the type who like record keeping, writing this and that all the time. I'm the type who is generous. When people come to me, employees and the rest, I cannot now use excuses of accountants. We don't have resources and the rest. So I realized that my behaviors were not matching the profession. I realized that I had a talent elsewhere. And that is why I tried HR. And I realized that I'm more of an HR person than an accountant. So even you this time, reflect. Think of other things that you have potential. Think of where opportunities are and see if you can try and do them. So that is the positive thinking that I'm talking about. But also use this opportunity to expand your networks. I know physical networks will not be possible, but now we have online. The people that you have not talked for so long, look for them. They could be helping you in this difficult situation. Get in touch, expand the networks, share experiences. Let people share with you the possible opportunities. But also do small things as a side income. Those who have land, you can start farming, smaller farming. Even smaller businesses. Use your vehicles which you use to take you to office for businesses. People now put things in the vehicles and they start selling them to friends and the rest. Look for ways of survival. It's not all that difficult, but it depends on how you are reflecting on it. And that is why I'm telling you, every difficult situation comes with opportunities. So many opportunities. So focus on those opportunities. But
Amos,
where
I
you are
hope you
not
are summarizing.
able to identify the opportunities, look for opportunities that can sharpen your axe.
Hello, Amos?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, I was saying, try to summarize.
Yes,
Your time is over. Okay.
Yeah, so look for opportunities that can sharpen your axe. This is the opportunity for online learning. There are free online training programs that you can embark on. Others you can pay for them. So think about those opportunities so that when you go back or when you get the opportunity, you are an expert in that area because you have equipped yourself with adequate knowledge. So all these are opportunities other than you being idle and doing nothing at home in the name of lockdown or in the name of, you have lost a job. So those are the tools that you need to use as an individual. But I have a key message for employers as well. Employers who are rushing to terminate, send people home, they need to remember that employers, those organizations are corporate citizens, and they are an integral part of our society, and they should contribute towards addressing society issues. Sending people home is not an alternative. You are creating problems for the community, problems for the society. People who are supporting other people, and these are the people who in turn would form part of the market to support your business, but you are sacrificing them. So organizations, please, take responsibility. It's not only all time about profit maximization. The objective of any business is create value for all its key stakeholders. So you have a social contract as an organization to create value for the society. And I want to share with you that is where the whole world is going. Last year, 181 US-based organizations, they have changed the official definition of the purpose of the organization, which initially used to be maximizing shareholder value. But now, the objective of the organization is improving society by looking for employees, caring for the environment, and dealing with issues ethically. So think about the bigger picture. It's not about profit maximization. Those who have rushed to send people home, think about the broken trust. You trained these people, you promoted them, you made them what they are. Now you are letting them go. It will never be the same. The trust is gone. The investment you put in those people is no more, and you cannot easily recall them back. Think about that. You are rushing, we don't have money, we don't have this. And when the call for mobilizing government resources comes, you are the very person to appear before the media donating so much money when you have sacrificed your employees. Think about that. So as I conclude, not all hope is lost. There are opportunities which are come along in these difficult situations. Let us focus on those opportunities. And we all have the abilities. We have the abilities to cope. We have the abilities to manage negativity. We have the abilities to explore other avenues that can enable us survive, because we are in a blessed country with so many opportunities in all aspects. So members, that is the only way out of this difficult situation. And I thank you. Back to moderator.
Sarah, you are muted. Sarah is muted. Our next speaker is Dr. David Basangwa. Dr. David Basangwa is not new to us. He has made several presentations at our annual seminar. He's just retired as the executive director of Tabaka National Referral Hospital. I hope I'm getting it right. It's the National Mental Referral Hospital. I was chatting with him just before this session, and I told him that Africans don't retire, they change jobs. So Dr. Basangwa, you are welcome. I think Sarah may have a few remarks. Since she's known, she can make a few remarks. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, John. Dr. Basangwa, still looks very fresh, and with his usual smile, we welcome you, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Basangwa is now a private medical health consultant. I don't know if your clinic is still in Beogerere. You will confirm that. But he's a veteran consultant. He has worked in Butabika Hospital, and he has a lot of experience to share with us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time introducing him, but we are in the right hands. Over to you, Dr. Basangwa, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair and participants. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be with the team, and I want to appreciate the organizers for giving me the opportunity to share highlights on current mental health burden in relation to the COVID pandemic. I commend CPA for always think about the mental health of the members. Mental health is usually a forgotten area, and yet we know that people who are not mentally well cannot function, cannot be productive in society, and yet we want everybody to be productive at the end of the day. The usual danger is that mental illness is usually not easily identified. It's a hidden problem because it's not painful. People don't easily come up for care. People suffer for long without much help. But the beauty is that a lot of it is preventable and treatable, and we can always make people really get on very well. I'm talking about mental health issues as we see them under the COVID pandemic. And I want to appreciate the previous speaker for making life easier for me, because it's really takes a lot of important issues that make my presentation much easier. Just to remind you that mental illness is quite a common problem, and it's a growing problem. Globally, mental illness contributes about 14% to the global burden of disease, which is really quite high, because that's one single area contributing over 14%. Is quite big. And depression is now, as we talk in the year 2020, the second most commonly diagnosed disease the world over. And depression is one of the things that I'll be talking about. We know that Uganda is facing lots of challenges as a country. I think in the region in Africa, we come up among the top 6 in terms of challenges due to mental health problems. You are aware that family surveys that were recently done discovered that over 7% of the families had a person with a disability problem. And the majority of these, over 50%, the disability was a mental problem. And we see that a lot of consultations that take place at the various hospitals in the country, especially lower level, center level or district hospitals, is usually due to a mental health problem. And what we are seeing now with the advent of COVID is that there is an increase in the burden of mental illness, as just illustrated by the previous speaker. Now, just to remind you that mental health, when we talk about mental health, what are we referring to? Mental health is a state of well-being where one has appropriate feelings about self and others, is able to cope with normal life experiences, and exhibits a behavior that's appropriate and expected in the community. So in that definition, you see that stress is a key thing. The moment you fail to cope with normal life stressors, then you are at risk of going off. You are at risk of suffering a mental health problem. Because mental illness is defined, we need to make a distinction about mental health and mental illness. Mental health is when everything is okay. Mental illness is when things begin to break down and you suffer. So mental illness is a state of challenged mental well-being, where one experiences inappropriate feelings about self and others, and a failure to cope with the stress, which leads to a behavior that society looks at as abnormal. Now, the COVID pandemic, as you all remember, it was about January this year that WHO declared the outbreak of the disease and said it was a public health emergency of international concern. A few weeks thereafter, WHO declared this to be a pandemic. It spread to many countries, it came to Uganda. We registered our first case. Cases kept increasing and later went down into a lockdown. And I think as we talk now, we are, to date, we have recorded over 1,000 cases. Fortunately, we thank God that there has been no death like it has happened in many other areas. Now, COVID, we know it as a physical disease. Physical disease is a disease affecting the body, especially the airway. Starts the nose, the windpipe up to the lungs. But then, along the way, many other areas are affected. But I think the key issue for us today is to remember that it does not stop there. It doesn't only affect the airway and other body organs. It also affects the person's mental health. But it doesn't also stop at persons that are affected by the virus. It even affects people that are innocent, the other categories of people that are not necessarily infected by the virus get affected mentally. And the common categories to be affected mentally, one, like I've said, the people that have suffered infection with COVID certainly get lots of mental health challenges, depending whether it has been mild, it has been moderate, severe. If they are able to survive whatever they went through, they are definitely candidates for mental health challenges and require a lot of support. But we know that other patients with other diseases are also at risk of developing COVID, but are also at risk of developing mental health challenges. So the elderly, people suffering with high blood pressure or diabetes, other diseases, HIV and so on, whereas they are prone to getting COVID, they are more prone to getting mental health challenges when the disease comes in, or even without the being infected by COVID. Just the mere issue of thinking about it and seeing others die or seeing others suffer makes them prone to developing mental health challenges. Health workers who are largely frontline workers, the fact that they are interacting with people that are suffering, get prone to developing mental health challenges because of seeing people go through very, very challenging situations. They are prone to developing various forms of mental illness, especially the fear, the stress, and others. We talk about relatives of people that have been infected by the virus. A lot of them, suffer in different ways. But there are also people in the communities that suffer in different ways that we shall look at shortly. Of course, many of us are parents, we have children. Children also get affected in different ways, and we should not forget this because there are currently a number of children that are suffering home, out of school in various ways. Now, what are the reasons? What are the actual facts behind these mental health effects? It's basically out of fear for the disease. It's a natural thing put inbuilt in all living animals, man inclusive, that if anything threatens the body, threatens your life, fear comes in because of the need for people to be able to survive. There is fear for the unpredictable outcome. Many of us, because COVID is a new disease, we are all students of the same. We are not very, very sure about the outcome. Now that alone causes a lot of fear in people because you don't know when you get disease, what will happen, what else will be affected, how will the family suffer, and so on and so forth. But there's also fear for that spread, which has been quite devastating, and it is a spread and a bit difficult to control. That alone also created a lot of fear in the public, in the community, and among people. And worst of all, because of this spread, measures taken to prevent infection from one person to another, which is the lockdown that my friend has been talking about. Lockdown has also had devastating effects because of the social isolation, the confinement of people that were used to moving from place to place, but also there have been the other devastating effects of no work, loss of job, loss of income, children not going to school. A number of children have wanted to go to school, but they are suffering. They can't go to school. They have to be home. I was sharing with a young man who was due to finish university in May, but unfortunately, that can't happen. I probably would wait for May next year to be able to complete university studies. So that makes life really very, very difficult. And as I said earlier, the fact that what we are going through, the future is unpredictable. We don't know where we are going. We don't know what will happen. So consequently, a lot of these challenges create a lot of stress, create a lot of fear, create anxiety, create depression, and create another problem which we call post-traumatic stress illness or post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder, we shall see, is a situation that one faces after going through a devastating experience. Now, anxiety, which is a common experience that people are getting out of this lockdown and the COVID challenges, is a sense of apprehension. You know, it's usually accompanied by a lot of other body signs and symptoms, like, you know, heart is pumping so hard, you are sweating so much, you are restless, you can't think properly, which in many times is a normal feeling that comes initially, but especially as we face difficult problems. But then, of course, unfortunately, when it stays long and doesn't go easily, then it becomes a disease. Anxiety is related to fear. The only difference is that anxiety is more disabling, and sometimes the threat is not very clear in people's minds, whereas fear, there is a clear cause and tends to clear in a short time. Now, there are other forms of anxiety that anxiety has different other dimensions of it. There is the dimension of panic. Some people that just start panicking out of the blue or out of what is happening. You know, somebody hears or watches TV and sees many people being buried, people suffering in intensive care, and panics and just also thinks has developed the disease and is also about to die, and starts, you know, running around, consulting and taking medicines and so on and so forth, especially if people don't have the positive thinking that my friend was talking about. It's a form of problem that we see a lot is people start diagnosing themselves even when they don't have disease. A lot of people in the community have thought they have COVID, and the courageous ones have run to be tested for COVID, just thinking they have it when they go into panic. But there are also the phobias, beginning to fear anything, especially related to this pandemic. I know there are people that have feared going to shops, going to supermarket, just in case they contract the COVID. Sometimes the fear is not genuine. They just fear. If they know there is a route where people say truck drivers and what pass, they will not stop in that area where there are trailers, because they are saying these truck drivers who are commonly positive for this pass here, and they fear they might get the disease. Others get obsessions. Being obsessed is doing something repeatedly, having various thoughts about doing it and continuing to do it even when there is no proper justification. For instance, we see now people obsessed about wearing masks. It's a good thing to put on a mask, but you should do it when there is danger. If you are alone in a car, for instance, there is no reason why you should cover yourself up in a mask. But I know people have done it. Of course, others fearing that they don't want LODs to interpret the safety for them. So they just put on. But if you get obsessed, you put on even when there is danger. Somebody puts on a mask even when he's his bedroom. There's no point covering your face with a mask, but they are fearing, they are obsessed. They are saying just in case the virus is blown through the window to the bedroom, they will be safe. So obsession is doing something repeatedly, even when there is no need. When there is no fear, there's no need for one to put on. I talked about PTSD. These are sequelae or consequences that we shall actually continue to suffer with, because the people that are now going through difficult situations, no job, nothing to eat, maybe I've survived confinement, they will suffer lots of consequences in the times to come, maybe months, maybe years. This is how post-traumatic stress disorder manifests. It comes much later after one has gone through a difficult period. Then, of course, there is the generalized anxiety, which is really general fear for anything, including diseases that threaten life. That is very common, and it makes up one of the most common groups of mental health problems that we see. Actually, it presents in one
But you leave them here.
One in every 4 patients that we see, and unfortunately we see the female being more affected by issues of anxiety. Now, depression doesn't remain behind. It's part and parcel of stress. Lots of people, as they go through stress, along the way, they get into depressed mood. That's feeling sad, feeling low most of the day, every day for over 2 weeks. They feel weak, they can't spontaneously move, speech is a bit slow, and the facial expressions that are really characteristic of depression. But they also have other things of negative thoughts, like our friend was saying. They never see anything positive in a situation because they are low and they think everything is gone bad and will be bad. They don't enjoy anything, even what previously they liked doing. They isolate themselves. They also have other symptoms like poor sleep and low appetite, but they also begin to develop thoughts of self-destructive behavior, feeling suicidal, wanting to take their lives because of the difficult situation they are in. And I know some people have killed themselves and even killed other people in the process. So stress, as many of you remember by definition, is a kind of pressure or a force that is exerted on the body. It's a feeling we get when we go into a state where demands are far greater than our personal resources, where we cannot properly cope with the demands that are being put onto us. So when we go through this challenging situation of threats to our lives, to our economy, to our earnings, to our children, and so on and so forth, then we get stressed, which is actually a warning signal normally that things are not okay. And it's supposed to warn a person so that you can make adjustments to be able to cope. And coping is always possible. So stress in itself is positive in the sense that it warns you so you can take action. Now it only becomes negative when you fail to cope. If you fail to cope, then it's going to take you. And that's why my friend was talking to you about the positive thinking, so that you are able to cope with the stress that it comes on. If you fail to cope, it's like the issue of failing to swim when a boat capsizes. Then it means if you fail to swim, then you'll drown and die. So similarly, when stress comes on and you cannot put yourself to positive thoughts, then you go to the negative side and it will put you down seriously. Stress is very common, and it's mainly about worries, and generally a lot of people do suffer some form of stress. Even if you just did a study amongst workers, amongst accountants or whatever, you find that over 80% of workers suffer some kind of stress, for instance, at the job. And we know that almost all the 5 top diseases have a kind of stress within them, whether it's pressure, whether it's cancer, whether it's diabetes. There is a stress factor which is embedded in there. Now, like I said, stress is affected by the way you perceive it and your individual constitution and how you react to it. So we can, in many ways, be able to modify it when it comes to us. Now, the causes of stress under the pandemic, you know, maybe just let me say that there are many causes for stress. Today, our concern about the kind of stress is that caused by COVID. So COVID as a disease, but also COVID, the way it affects other areas that we've been talking about, the economy, the environment, the lockdown, the fees, investments, mortgage, rent, and so on and so forth. So all these are challenges that under the current COVID pandemic are causing a lot of people to get stressed. In families, you know, look at children not going to school, domestic costs, shopping, challenges, extended families, people failing to survive, and they are, you know, asking for this and that. So a lot of people get stressed. Now, how do you know that you are actually getting stressed? There are a number of signs and symptoms that are typical of a person that is developing stress. One, there is a lot of panic usually. They feel anxious and they start to get a lot of body pains, usually headache. Headache is a very common sign in people that are stressed. There's also the issue of somebody feeling dizzy or lightheadedness. You examine them and you don't see real reason for the dizziness or for feeling lightheadedness, but it's because of the underlying fear or underlying threat that they are going through. In the heart area, the heart pumps very fast. Sometimes they also complain of a bit of chest pain, which is really vague. And the heartbeat may tell you, they might tell you that sometimes my heart kind of stops along the way. The heartbeat is not regular. So that's sometimes a common sign of stress that a person is going through. In the tummy, they lose appetite for food. They might feel nauseated, feeling like they want to vomit. Sometimes they actually vomit. They could have diarrhea. But on the other hand, sometimes they get constipated and they are not emptying their bowels for days. And really, there is no other particular risk that is giving them this other than the fact that they are going through a difficult situation and they are fearful. They also talk of pains in the various body areas, the muscles in the legs, backache. Backache is actually very, very common. They feel like they are sweating a little more than usual. And they also complain that they have short breath. They cannot breathe very, very easily. Now, those are key in one that is suffering from the problem of stress. But they also go ahead to develop other things. There's sometimes a bit of trembling, a bit of shaking. The hands are like, your legs are like they are shaking. They are tell you there is something they are worried about, but they are not clear what. They feel restless, up and down. Sometimes they develop certain mannerisms. They do things that they have not been doing before, like chewing movements. They bite fingers, which they were not doing before. And they get irritable and very, very angry. And that's why, as you know, we are now getting a lot of challenges like domestic violence and so on, because the people are quite irritable and quite angry out of the stress that they are going through. They get a lot of thoughts running through their minds. Unfortunately, they are also don't easily make up their minds or take decisions about things that they are supposed to do that can help them. Sleep is sometimes challenged. They can't sleep well. The majority of them, they go to bed and keep awake through the night. But then we also see a few that unfortunately get too much sleep. During the day, they are sleeping. At night, somebody asks you to sleep during the day, will you be able to sleep in the night? And even in the night, they are able to sleep. So sometimes it varies depending on the individual. Then they take on behaviors that are not usual. They are really difficult people. They become bossy at work, but more so at home. And as I said, they are sometimes violent and aggressive, and the reason for the domestic violence that we are currently experiencing. Some resort to habits that are not, again, usual before, like heavy use of alcohol, using other drugs, smoking. This is a time for certain people to take on habits of smoking, and we've seen it in some people, thinking that when they take on this, then there will be help, they will feel better using alcohol and other drugs, not knowing that they are taking on things that is going to affect their well-being. They become reckless with the life. Like if they are driving, they are fast drivers, you know. And I think, thank God that during the lockdown, again, driving was a bit limited, but we could have seen more accidents because of people driving and stress and risking their lives. They kind of become or develop a self-destructive behavior. That's no wonder I was listening to that story of massacre. How does a person demand for something is not given and decide to torch self? You know, that kind of reckless behavior, self-destructive behavior is very common when we get people that are stressed. But eventually, they also burn out if they are able to do any work at all. Burning out is reaching a breaking point, especially when you are at work. And this has been particularly common with our colleagues, the health workers who are on the front line dealing with COVID patients, especially in areas where the effects have been really quite heavy. So I talked about them getting depressed, getting anxious, getting sometimes out of stress. You could get overt mental health challenges where, you know, everybody says is not well and probably deserves to be admitted for care. Don't forget that whereas we are concerned about the mental health effects of stress, there is also stress. There are also general health issues or complications of stress. You can get stress and develop high blood pressure. Don't forget that. You can develop peptic ulcers. You can develop diabetes. You can get risk for developing cancer and other challenges. So whereas we are concerned about the mental health effects, we should also appreciate that other general health issues can come in. And this is why we want to manage all forms of stress to people. Now, how do we prevent or how do we manage COVID-related stress? Well, the first thing is to prevent it. And one way to prevent it.
Hello, doctor. Just to alert you to start wrapping up. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so how we prevent it? The best way to prevent ourselves from getting into stress that is caused by this COVID. And the first thing is avoid predisposing situations. One of the key predisposing situations is listening to too much information related to COVID. You are on CNN, you go to BBC, you go to another channel, and all the time are talking about COVID. They are showing people being buried and so on and so forth. So avoid this. You'll keep better. You'll reduce on the stress. Avoid rumors on social media. Try to get only to trusted sources in terms of information. A lot of misinformation is causing people to get more and more stressed. We need to support each other. Whoever is challenged, I heard my colleague before saying, if don't discontinue people from working, if they can keep at the jobs, that's even better. But whatever else you can do is it will be helpful in avoiding or stopping people from getting stressed during this period. Keep in touch with people. When we talk about social distancing, we don't say people should not socially network. So networks are very, very useful, and this has already been very well talked about. Keep in touch, call people, talk to them in various ways. I think technology can now enable us to be in touch. Share good news. Wherever something good happens, I think it's good to share, to support other people and so on and so forth. But we should also care about ourselves. We can work on ourselves to be able to reduce on the stress that we can get from the challenges of this COVID pandemic. Eat healthy in terms of diet. Because of time, we won't go a lot into this. It's always good to exercise. Let's keep fit. Let's keep working out. I know gyms work, but working out like taking a walk or running or jogging or playing a game at home with the children is very, very helpful in terms of reducing the stress that people are going through this period. Like I said earlier, alcohol, drugs have no benefit. If you can avoid them, please do. Alcohol is okay to drink if you can take it in moderate quantities. Don't move to abuse of alcohol. That will cause you more stress eventually. Now, the category that we forget about a lot are children. Let us remember, it's not only us as adults that are affected by this COVID pandemic. Children are affected because they are not going to school. And unfortunately, children sometimes don't have good ways to express themselves, and they harbor that stress that they have for long, which is really, really not good. So as the parents, we should always allow children to express their feelings in the different ways they are able to, either playing or drawing or singing or writing. Try to be close to the children, try to support them, allow them to talk about the problems easily, and as they talk about them and you are there, you are supporting, you are helping, that will make them reduce onto the amount of stress that they are going through, because at the end of the day, that amount of stress that they go through can have long-lasting impacts. And allow them or encourage them to engage in age-appropriate activities, but also be there as parents. And remember, your children take you as role models. So behave in a way during this period that you do want your children to really go through. When the worst comes the worst, you can consult. There is care, there is help, there is counseling that can be given, especially if you are feeling too anxious, you can't sleep, you are feeling too much, challenges, you are feeling low and frustrated, you are at the verge of saying, life is no longer worth living. I would rather go and join my Creator than keep in this house or this world. So there you need to really quickly consult. Then we can be of help. We can do counseling is helpful, but when it's really unbearable, then we offer some medicines to help you deal with the kind of challenges that people are going through. So in summary, in conclusion, COVID-19 pandemic has increased the burden of mental illness. The key issues remain, especially related to COVID, is the stress, anxiety, depression, and the post-traumatic stress disorder. The pandemic will be over after a time, but vulnerable people will remain with problems for a long time. So let us work together to support people that are at risk of developing stress and help those that have developed it to get early management to keep healthy and to keep functional. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Basagwa, for that enlightful presentation. We've all learned that we can get stressed, and we can also avoid stress in many ways. I liked the approach of Dr. Basangwa because you are able to look at it from a medical perspective, and also Amos brought in the practical perspective. So given the two sides, we want to look at the questions now. I'm going to pick questions from the chat, from the Q&A, and I will be directing them to Dr. and Amos. The first one is, with the mental health of the pandemic likely to wreak havoc and become a public health threat to its own, should organizations start thinking of recruiting psychologists or counselors if they have not already done so? I think that is for Dr. Basangwa. And then the second one is to Amos. Positive thoughts compete with negative thoughts for the same space. How can one make sure the positive thoughts dominate the space? That is Amos. Amos, have you got?
Yes.
How can one make sure that the positive thoughts dominate. Then there is another question to Dr. Basangwa. What makes some people eat a lot when they are stressed? What makes some people eat a lot when they are stressed? And then there is one who says to Dr. Basangwa, how do we manage stress at work? I don't know if doctor is able to note this down. The other one is to Amos. Since the subconscious mind controls about 95% of our brain power, thoughts and behaviors are practical techniques to reprogram it that you can share. Sorry. Yes. Are there practical techniques to reprogram it that you can share? I hope you've got the question, Amos.
Yes, I've gotten it.
Then we shall share the presentations. That is okay, for, including the one for Dr. Basangwa. We shall share them. Are there identifiable external stressors that are unusual or different in some way? Name them, particularly the ones that are negative and that you might not have encountered before. What is different? What do you need to stress? Then I have another last question for Dr. Basangwa. I just wanted Dr. Basangwa to enlighten us on the impact of stress, anxiety, or depression. Is there a direct relationship between anxiety, depression, and epileptic attacks, especially where the epilepsy comes at an older age, like above 30 years, when you are working in a corporate world and there is a lot of stress? Is there a relation between those epileptic attacks and stress or mental health? Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Basangwa will go first.
Oh, okay, Chair. Thank you so much for these very important questions. The first one is true, mental health challenges will continue. Like I said, apparently, even after we are done with this COVID pandemic, because of the after effects that usually afflict people. So it will be a good idea for us to prepare to help people, the many people that will be affected or will be suffering with these problems. So it's nice if organizations can make preparations to, one, of course, the most important things to prevent, but also detect early and intervene. It would be nice if they can take on, especially the counselors, because a lot of the counselors can do a lot of work. What I know is that already in many organizations, the human resource personnel already are able to take on this role. Some have already trained, like you heard my previous speaker is also able to offer that kind of support. So it will be nice if organizations can have specialized people or have people that can multitask and also be available to help others that require that kind of assistance. The other is what makes people eat a lot when they are stressed. Yes, it's true, and a lot of people in periods of stress, whereas the majority of people lose appetite and lose weight, some people gain appetite and gain weight. These are people who, take up a habit to try and cover up a problem. So the problem is there. They're asking themselves, how do I handle this? And as they think, they are all the time in the fridge, they are in the kitchen, and they are eating, and that's one way they are coping with an existing problem. People who have a common saying that if everything else fails, then you eat. So if life is failing, eat. And that's how they gain appetite and eat much more. How do we deal with the stress at work? Work will always be stressful, but stress can be minimized. One, if you do your work well, good time manager, you don't wait for things to accumulate, but also at the end of the day, you know that you do work, but you must have rest at some point. If it's work, then you will get really stressed. But there's also need for the bosses also to be supportive. If you have supportive supervisors, the environment is also good, conducive. You have the tools to use in your work. You are appreciated, even the little you do, then that can help to really avoid people from getting stressed at work. Then the other question is about epilepsy and issues to do with anxiety and depression in some people. Yes, epilepsy is a neurological disorder, but which has a lot of bearing in terms of stress, in terms of one getting an attack. You can compare epilepsy to like asthma. Each time you get a challenge within the body, each time you are stressed, it's easy for a person who suffers asthma to get an attack. Similarly, a person with epilepsy, if they are stressed, if they are challenged in one way or another, the attacks very easily come on. And we always teach them how to avoid stressful situations so that they avoid getting attacks of epilepsy. Thank you so much for those questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Amos can take on the others now.
Yeah, thanks so much, moderator. Thanks so much, the audience. My first question was, the positive thinking and negative thinking compete for the same space in our mind. So how do you minimize the impact of negative thinking when they are competing for the same space in our mind? Now, this is what we have been talking about. From the psychology point of view, managing stress and positive thinking now is part of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence was not pronounced more before than now, because now we have so many things that stress us that needs attitude. Attitude actually is part of positive thinking. But now it has turned out to be part of the training so that you acquire that skill to manage stress and look at things positively. And for some of organizations, if you don't have emotional intelligence, even if you have your intellectual intelligence, you cannot be successful even in a job or even in other things, including business and families. So really, it is a skill that we adapt. But on top of that, there are a few things that one can do when faced with negativity. The first thing, of course, those people who are saved or who believe in different region or religious beliefs, they know the importance of faith. What the religion is telling us actually about faith is to look at things positively, believe in your creator, be hopeful, focus on the brighter side. So those who are saved, you know what I'm talking about. But also those who are not saved, always count on your blessings. Count on your blessings. You are healthy, so many people are in the hospital. You are able to work, so many people are unemployed. You have an income to live on, other people don't have. But those who don't have are the people who have educated their children successfully. So you compare. If those people can manage, how about me? Why do I allow these things to distract me? Surround yourself with the positive people. Believe in yourself that you can overcome because other people have managed it. Why is it that it is you who cannot manage? Have faith. Look at, people have been successful, read about their stories, get their quotes, even you can make those quotes screensavers, reflect on good memories, the good time you have had when you are really stressed. There are so many things that you can do and they become routine. And in the process, they become part of you. But, once we allow negativity to eat us up, then we are in serious problems. That is why you start thinking of, even things which challenge your well-being. You think I was bewitched, people don't like me. You tend to isolate. You are suspecting everybody. So you are adding an injury to the wound. But look at the positivities. Look at the positivities. Even at the place of work. Stress, by the way, is normal. It is part of life. There is negative stress and the positive stress. The positive stress, of course, you call it Eurostress, and negative stress is distress. But positive stress and negative stress, they are important. Positive stress helps us even to work harder, accept challenges, to be better people, sharpen our axe. But the negative one is the one that you have to fight, either through faith, religious beliefs, and those practices. Once you have something which has stressed you so much, pick that interesting video that you like so much and watch it. Pick your wedding, your wedding function, and you watch the video, reflect on those good memories. But once you develop this practice and it becomes routine, it becomes part of you. But if you allow the other negative stress, even dreams, even everything, then all these other things have to set up. So the other question is related to this first one, the practical techniques of controlling the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind, these are the negative stress that we have been talking about. Me, what has helped me? Whenever something happens, I try to look for any positive aspect, however small it is, that is connected to that difficult situation. And this has helped me. People don't like me, yeah, but how do you make people like you? You are concentrating on what is it that you need to do on your side, other than focusing on those who don't like you. What is it that I need to do so that people like me? They have given me a lot of work which is so stressful, but isn't this an opportunity for me to shine? I'm using the organization as a platform to learn as much as I can, so that when I'm out there, I can shine. And I shared this, I worked with one of the big four. The work was stressful, politics in the organization, but I said my word are the clients. But now it is paying off. Because you don't focus on internal politics. You are looking at the bigger picture. How do I get out, standing out of this difficult situation? But if you are going to focus on the negativity, you dream about it, you don't have anything to do about it, then another thing which helps, okay, this has happened. Do I have control over it? So if I don't have control over it, then it's none of my business, although it is affecting me. So I don't need to spend a lot of my energies over something I don't have control over. So you look at other things. You are stressed in office. When you are in the middle of work, that is the time you need to stop that work. Walk. Because you cannot concentrate, or you are going to produce poor quality work, and it will bring you more problems. Reflect, walk, look over, put on a good song that brings back your mood. Then when you feel that you are in control, come and do the work the way you are supposed to do. But it is these
daily routine practices that eventually will become part of you, and you'll have managed that unconscious mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amos. You've really made it very practical. Thank you, Doctor, for that. I want to take on the second last set of questions. One, I think I will take this to Doctor. Is stress contagious? Doctor, they are asking you, is stress contagious? Then number two, how do we help the workers who seem to be disorganized and lose concentration at work because of the COVID pandemic? That will also go to Doctor. I hope you've got it, Doctor. And then I think this one can go to Amos. The analog of retaining staff on the payroll when the business is not making sense. Kindly share more light. I think this is to Amos. And then another one is, what are the benefits of being stressed? Looking at it from the positive side, are there any benefits of being stressed? That also goes to Amos. And then maybe we can take this. This one is also specifically addressed to Amos. Kindly clarify how do you practically differentiate between being critical and negativity, especially in the workplace? Example, you know, something is not correct, yet when you comment, the other person thinks you are negative. Where is the drawing line? That is to Amos. So let's take those again. We are looking at finishing this webinar before 4 p.m. because it has been quite long. Thank you very much. Back to you, Amos and Doctor.
Okay, thank you so much again for these questions. The first one is if stress is contagious. Very interesting. Really, biologically speaking, stress itself is not supposed to be contagious. But however, sometimes if you are dealing with vulnerable people and you are a key figure and you get stressed and the symptoms are displayed, then sometimes the people below you who are looking at as a key figure also get stressed. Like you are in a family, this is why I was telling you that if you are at home and you are showing extreme signs, symptoms of stress, and you are not even able to support the children, then the children will even get stressed. So in a way, you can say that you are passing on your stress to them and they are getting it and they, you know, suffering equally. That's why you have to be more positive, especially if you have people that you are supposed to, who are looking up to you. You should be more positive so that they don't get problems. But extreme forms of stress in terms of work, the burnout. Burnout comes out of extreme stress at work. It's a state where a person feels physically and mentally exhausted because of what is going on at work. He's feeling helpless, is very negative about work, about people, and about life, and thinks is in the wrong place, is in the wrong job, and should not be doing what he's doing, keeps missing work and complaining a lot. So when you have that kind of stress and negativity, you will infect others because the people you are working with, they have to take on your work. They have to probably do a little more time because you are missing, you are wasting their time, and so on and so forth. So in a way, you destabilize the institution, and others also get stressed because of you. So in a way, there you could say it becomes infectious. So again, the same way to to be helped if you are having challenges at work, it's important for people to remember to always take work more positively. Enjoy your work, like your work, know you are there for a purpose, know there are people that you are serving, so that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you look forward to go and offering that service. But in the process, avoid doing too much. You know, avoid doing so much. Avoid going like doing offering overtime every other day, because really long periods of stay at work doesn't mean you are becoming more productive. You eventually lose it. So only do what you are able to offer at the time. Like my colleague was saying, if in the middle of work, you all of a sudden find yourself, you are not comfortable, you are restless, you are not concentrating, stop whatever you are doing, move around, talk to somebody, do something refreshing, something you enjoy doing, and that will be helpful. We always advise people, avoid, for whatever reason, avoid taking office work home. Then you'll be into more trouble. You are disturbing the people at home, you are also disturbing yourself at work, and you are not resting. You need some rest to be able to prepare yourself for the following day. So take breaks, also seek support if you are having challenges at work with anything. That's why I said supportive leaders are usually helpful. So if you're having challenges and you know there are people you can appeal to, the workmates, somebody lower, somebody higher, please do that. And that support, that guidance will help you from getting stressed at work. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much, moderator and the audience. The first question was, how do you retain staff when the business is not doing well? Now, here, this needs a proper analysis. The mere fact that the business is not doing well, you don't intend to close it. And that is why you need to come out smart in dealing with the situation. So if you intend to close it, then probably you are right to send staff away, because the going concern of that business is no more. But if you don't intend to close it and you want to continue running this, you need to think heavily in these people, heavily. So if it stabilizes, what is it that you are going to do to bring these people back that you have sent away? So analyze the kind of investment you are putting in these resources and think twice before you take the action. You can maintain your people by being smart. For instance, you can make people understand the situation, make them work in shifts so that all of them are retained, but they are going to work in shifts and they will earn probably half of what they have been earning. But in the process, make them understand that this half is actually good because the cost you have been incurring to transport yourself to office, to eat while at the place of work and other incidental costs related to the work, you not incur them because they are part of the things you are sacrificing because you'll be working either at home or working in shifts. So you have to package the message, but also work still, at least meet their basics. Meet their basics to enable them take care of their families, even when the business is not doing well. What is frustrating is to find organizations rushing, send away people in the process of managing the situation. If you lose a skilled resource, in HR, a skilled resource now is not available in the market, and we are in the war for talent. If you lose that talent, it might even lead to you losing the business. And professional people, you know what I'm talking about. It takes 10 years to produce a very good consultant, a good accountant. You are letting these people go. So if the situation stabilizes tomorrow, what are you going to do? So be smart. And that is all I'm talking about. But also make people understand. I know of an organization that used to be called the KCR, I think in Kasese. They were going through hardships, but they managed the situation. They closed business for some time, but they kept on supporting their people. And when they were in business again, they were able to bring back all the people they had sent away. Those are the kind of smart decisions that you need to take. Then the benefits of being stressed. Unfortunately, and you accountants, you know what I'm talking about. We excel in a stressful environment. I don't know whether you realize this. We do excel in a stressful environment. So that kind of stress is a positive stress that I talked about, the hero stress. When you are given a deadline, you do your best. When you have all the time at your disposal, you produce poor quality work. So stress, there is a way how it triggers the mind, and depending on how you cope or manage it, you might come out a better person, or if you are focusing on a negative aspect of it, you might come out the worst person. But stress is there. Deadlines they have to be met. More especially our profession, we have deadlines. We have work overload. We have people who are not skilled at managing people who also stress us. For instance, if you have a bad manager, it is an experience for you to be a better person than that bad manager. So if you interpret it positively, it has given you a learning experience to be a better person than the one you are working with. So those are the positive or the benefits of stress. The other question, the difference between being critical and negative. Now, this is lack of the skill. Even when you are communicating difficult or negative information or unpleasant information, there is what we call the burger approach. You all know the burger, the order for burgers. But the burger, the main component of the burger is the meat. But it is buffered with the bread on top. So you start with the bread on top. By the time you go to the main meat which you are looking for, you have already started and eaten the bread. So even when you are communicating negative information, use the burger approach. Buffer it. Start with the positive things. Of recent, I appreciate the effort you are putting in. For instance, you are talking to the staff. But I have noticed that probably there are other things that are affecting you that have affected the quality of work that you are producing. Maybe you have started with the positive information and you are communicating to the staff. We appreciate you are part of the team. You have been doing so well, but we have noticed that of recent, this has affected your work. What could it be and how can we help? You have packaged the information in such a way that the recipient will not feel the negativity in the information that you are sending. So it is a skill, but most managers don't have this skill. You have messed up one thing out of 99 things that you have done well. Somebody comes and says you're ability. We are going to sack you. You are letting us down. All other good things you have done, they are forgotten. And managers, as we usually say, they are the killers of the business because they lack the skill. They create negativity which affects production. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amos. I think I will now send this back to John Bosco. My humble role is done. It has been nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. On behalf of the Institute, I would like to thank you for sharing this session. I would also like to thank our presenters, Amos and Dr. Basangwa, for giving us their best this afternoon. We have an upcoming webinar on 17th, budgeting and budget control. Please register. I wish you a pleasant evening. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amos, for
Thanks a lot.
the job well done. Yeah.